Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at a dramatic and deeply unsettling development unfolding in Eastern Europe, as reports and signals suggest that top commanders in Belarus may be rebelling against the very system they once protected. This is not a minor political dispute or a routine disagreement. It is a situation that strikes at the heart of power, control, and survival in one of Europe's most tightly controlled states. Belarus has long been defined by stability on the surface and fear beneath it. President Alexander Lukashenko built his rule on loyalty, discipline, and absolute control over the military and security services. For decades, this structure appeared unbreakable, but recent events suggest that something fundamental may be changing inside the command structure. When top commanders begin to question authority, the consequences can be historic. Armies are designed to obey, not to debate. Any sign of hesitation, resistance, or internal disagreement at the highest levels immediately raises alarms.
In Belarus, these alarms are now ringing louder than ever before.
Reports of quiet defiance, delayed orders, and unusual absences from official events have fueled speculation that senior military figures are no longer fully aligned with the president. While state media remains silent or dismissive, independent analysts see a pattern forming that cannot be easily ignored. One of the most important aspects of this situation is the silence itself. In authoritarian systems, rebellion rarely announces itself publicly. It begins behind closed doors, in private conversations, and in subtle acts of non-compliance. The absence of clear declarations often hides the most serious threats. The Belarusian military has always been portrayed as unified and disciplined. Public parades, joint exercises, and patriotic messaging reinforce this image. But unity on display does not always reflect unity in reality. Cracks often appear first at the top. They are responsible not only for national defense, but also for enforcing political decisions that may conflict with their professional ethics or personal beliefs. As political demands increase, the burden on military leadership becomes heavier. The ongoing war in Ukraine has intensified this pressure. Belarus's strategic alignment with Russia has placed its military in a sensitive and dangerous position. Many commanders understand the risks of deeper involvement in a regional conflict that could spiral beyond control. Being used as a staging ground for foreign military operations is not a neutral role. It exposes Belarus to retaliation, sanctions, and long-term instability. Some commanders may see this path as a direct threat to national security rather than a defense of it. Economic hardship adds another layer of strain. Sanctions have weakened Belarus's economy, affecting military budgets, salaries, and resources. When officers struggle to support their families while being asked to maintain loyalty at all costs, resentment can grow quietly. Morale within the armed forces is closely tied to trust in leadership. If commanders believe political decisions are reckless or self-serving, their willingness to comply may diminish. This is especially true among experienced officers who have dedicated their lives to the state. Another critical factor is the question of succession. Lukashenko's long rule has left little room for alternative leadership structures. As uncertainty about the future grows, different factions within the elite may begin preparing for a post-Lukashenko era. In such moments, top commanders become key power brokers. Their support can determine whether a transition is orderly or chaotic. This reality gives them influence, but it also places them under suspicion. Loyalty tests and internal surveillance reportedly have increased. When leaders begin to fear their own protectors, trust erodes rapidly. Excessive monitoring often signals weakness rather than strength. The memory of the 2020 protests still looms large. The military and security forces were ordered to suppress mass demonstrations, placing them directly against their own population. For many commanders, this was a defining moment. Suppressing civilians is not the same as defending borders. Over time, such actions can damage the moral foundation of a military institution. The scars of those events may still shape decisions today. Public calm should not be mistaken for political stability. Fear can silence people, but it cannot erase dissatisfaction. The same applies within the armed forces, where discipline can hide deep internal conflict. Information leaks and anonymous briefings have become more frequent. These leaks suggest disagreements at the highest levels over strategy, loyalty, and national direction. Even if exaggerated, their existence alone indicates internal tension. The role of Russia further complicates the situation. While Moscow provides security guarantees, it also exerts influence that some Belarusian commanders may resent. National pride and sovereignty remain powerful forces, even independent states. If commanders believe Belarus is losing control over its own future, they may feel compelled to act. Such actions do not always take the form of open rebellion. Sometimes refusal to act is just as powerful. A delayed deployment, a cancelled exercise, or a cautious interpretation of orders can all signal resistance. These actions are difficult to prove but deeply unsettling for political leadership. International observers are watching closely. Any confirmed split within the Belarusian command structure would reshape regional security calculations. Neighboring countries would need to reassess their defenses and diplomatic strategies. For Lukashenko, maintaining control over the military is a matter of survival. His authority depends on force as much as politics. If that force becomes unreliable, the entire system is at risk. Public displays of confidence may hide private fear. Leaders often project strength when they feel most vulnerable. Increased rhetoric about unity and loyalty can be a sign that unity is already under threat. The Belarusian population remains largely silent, but silence can be strategic. People observe, wait, and adapt. Many understand that real change often begins within elite circles, not on the streets. History offers many examples where military leaders played decisive roles in political transformation. Sometimes they act to preserve stability, sometimes to protect themselves, and sometimes in the name of national interest. Whether the current situation in Belarus will escalate into open rebellion remains uncertain, but uncertainty itself is destabilizing. It weakens confidence and encourages speculation. Every day that passes without clarity adds pressure. Rumors spread, trust erodes, and fear grows. In such environments, a single event can trigger rapid change. The international community faces difficult choices. Direct intervention is unlikely, but diplomatic pressure and strategic signaling continue. These external forces influence internal calculations more than many realize. For the commanders themselves, the stakes are enormous. Acting too soon could mean failure and punishment. Acting too late could mean losing influence and control over events. This moment represents a test not only for Belarus, but for authoritarian systems everywhere. It shows how long-term repression can eventually turn inward, creating threats from within. Power, built on fear, demands constant reinforcement. When that reinforcement weakens even slightly, the structure begins to shake. Belarus may now be experiencing that exact moment. What happens next will depend on decisions made quietly, away from cameras and official statements. These decisions may determine whether Belarus enters a new phase of control or a period of dramatic change. For now, the signals are clear enough to raise concern, but ambiguous enough to resist confirmation. This ambiguity is dangerous, as it keeps everyone guessing. One thing is certain: the idea that top commanders in Belarus might rebel would have been unthinkable years ago. Today, it is being discussed seriously by analysts worldwide. That shift alone tells us how fragile the current situation has become. As events continue to unfold, the world watches closely, aware that sudden change is often born from prolonged silence.